Hi, I'm Emily, 29 years old, and I never thought my own cousin could ruin my life in a single morning. It started with a smile. The kind of smile that hides a knife. And by the time I realized what she had done, my entire world had been stolen from me, including the business I poured my soul into. If you've ever trusted someone completely, only to have them betray you, hit that like button and subscribe. This story isn't just about revenge, it's about rising stronger when the people you love turn against you. I never believed betrayal could come from someone you called family. But I learned the hard way that the deepest wounds are caused by those closest to you. My cousin, Madison, was my partner in every sense of the word. We grew up in the same neighborhood in Chicago, went to the same schools, shared the same dreams, and eventually, we decided to build a business together. It wasn't just a job. It was our dream project. I remember the excitement, the long nights brainstorming names, sketching logos on coffee-stained notebooks, planning every detail down to the last font. We laughed, we argued, we celebrated even the smallest victories. Every step felt like it was ours. I trusted her completely, maybe too much. We launched a small boutique consulting firm, offering digital marketing for local businesses. I handled client communications, Madison ran operations. We were meticulous. We were passionate. We were unstoppable, or so I thought. Then one morning, everything changed. I arrived at our office, ready to finalize a new client pitch, and the door wouldn't open. Confused, I tried again. Still locked. My stomach sank. I checked the side windows, everything looked normal. Then I noticed the notice on the door, property transferred to Madison Reeves. I froze. My own company, my hard work, my dreams, now legally under her name. She hadn't just cut me out, she'd erased me completely. The website, client contacts, social media accounts, all transferred. All of it. When I finally confronted her, standing in her perfectly air-conditioned office, she looked at me as if I were overreacting. "It's just business, Em," she said, tilting her head. "You'll thank me one day." I felt my chest tighten, my hands trembling. Every memory, every late night, every sacrifice, gone in a single, cruel sentence. I wanted to scream, to cry, to punch the wall. But instead, I nodded slowly, swallowing the rage that threatened to consume me. And in that moment, something inside me broke, but it also lit a fire. A fire I would nurture in silence. Because if she thought she could steal everything from me and walk away unscathed, she was about to learn the hidden cost of betrayal. That's when the real story began. For weeks, I couldn't sleep. My mind replayed every detail of that morning, the cold metal of the new locks, the smug tilt of Madison's head, the casual way she called it, just business. Nights became a blur of restless pacing, coffee cups stacked like trophies of my sleepless despair. I questioned everything, my judgment, my ambition, even my worth. Friends tried to comfort me. "You'll bounce back," they said. But they didn't understand. This wasn't a minor setback. This was the erasure of everything I'd built, a betrayal so intimate it felt like my own skin had been ripped away. The sting wasn't just financial, it was personal. My dreams had been rewritten without my permission, and the person responsible, the person I trusted above all, smiled while doing it. I attempted to fight back at first. I went to lawyers, filed complaints, tried to retrieve some control. But Madison was careful, too careful. Every document, every digital trail was forged beyond reach. She was untouchable. And that made the humiliation even worse. I was powerless, watching her succeed where I had once led, feeling invisible in a world I had helped create. Days turned into nights of obsessive planning. I began keeping a notebook, every client interaction Madison had, every weak spot in her operations, every decision she made that might be leveraged against her. I studied her patterns, learned her strategies, and started noticing cracks, small ones at first. Mistakes in contracts, inconsistent messaging with clients, underestimating her competitors. The emotional weight was brutal. I remember one night, curled on the floor of my tiny apartment, sobbing so hard I couldn't breathe. I questioned if revenge was even worth it. Could I really rise above the anger, the pain, the betrayal? Or would I become someone as ruthless as she was? But then something clicked. I realized that real power wasn't about rage. It wasn't about screaming or breaking down. Real power was quiet, methodical, and patient. It was about building something so strong, so undeniable, that it couldn't be ignored. That's when the plan started taking shape, not impulsive acts of retaliation, but a strategic, unstoppable comeback. I started rebuilding my network. Old clients who had trusted me before. I reached out privately, casually, subtly reminding them who they had trusted from the start. I started small, quietly offering value without fanfare. Meanwhile, I observed Madison's business unravel under its own flaws she ignored because she assumed she had me beaten. Every night, I felt the thrill of planning, the anticipation of the moment when her arrogance would finally meet consequence. But the wait was agonizing. Each client who chose me over her, each subtle win, only intensified the fire inside me. I couldn't rush it. I had to be meticulous. I had to be patient. And the hardest part? Watching her succeed publicly while knowing I was quietly orchestrating her downfall. It was like being trapped in a pressure cooker, my rage and grief turning into something sharper, colder, and more precise. Little did Madison know, her empire, built on deceit, greed, and betrayal, was sitting on a foundation I was about to dismantle brick by brick. The pieces were in motion, and soon, she wouldn't know what hit her. It started with a single realization: I didn't need to fight her head-on. Madison had built her empire on shortcuts, on charm, and on the belief that no one would ever outsmart her. That was her greatest weakness, and my greatest advantage. I began meticulously mapping every aspect of her business. I noted every recurring client complaint, every inconsistent project delivery, every overpromised and underdelivered service. Her arrogance had left a trail, and I was following it like a hawk. Every evening, my apartment became a war room. Whiteboards covered the walls, charts and notes scribbled in bold marker. I worked late into the night, fueled by coffee, anger, and an unrelenting focus. But I also had to play the part of the woman who had been beaten. I posted online occasionally, subtly conveying frustration, almost like a business casualty who had accepted her fate. The mask was crucial. Madison had to remain blind to the storm brewing behind the scenes. One of my first steps was to regain client trust. I reached out individually, carefully, casually, planting seeds of reliability and professionalism. I didn't boast about Madison or her failings. I just reminded them of the value they had experienced when working with me, the attention to detail, the loyalty. Slowly, like water carving stone, clients began gravitating toward me. And I recorded every interaction meticulously, knowing the day of reckoning was coming. The psychological thrill of this stage was intoxicating. Every small victory, every email response, every hesitant client returning to me was a spark. I began to anticipate her moves. I could predict her responses, the panic that would flicker behind her confident mask. Meanwhile, I also worked to strengthen my new brand. Every logo, every website update, every client pitch had to be perfect. It wasn't enough to compete, I had to dominate. I hired contractors, optimized workflows, even learned some advanced digital marketing tricks she had overlooked. Each improvement felt like adding another brick to the fortress I was constructing. But the most satisfying part of the plan wasn't just professional, it was personal. I began imagining Madison realizing the depth of her miscalculation. I imagined her calling me in desperation, her voice cracking, pleading. And I reminded myself, patience. The timing had to be flawless. One wrong move could tip her off. Every night, I went over contingencies. What if she tried legal retaliation? What if she discovered my small client contacts? Every potential obstacle became a drill, a practice in precision. I had transformed my rage into strategy, my heartbreak into cunning, my despair into planning. By the time I launched the final phase, I had all the pieces in place. My new company wasn't just ready, it was unstoppable. The clients she had ignored, the cracks in her service, the overconfidence she had worn like armor, all of it was about to crumble, piece by piece. And when it began, the downfall would be spectacular. The morning I decided to act, I felt a mix of adrenaline and calm that I've never experienced before. Everything I had built in secret, every late night, every meticulous plan, was about to collide with reality. I opened my laptop, reviewed my final client list, and sent the carefully worded emails. Each one was casual, almost innocent, but the message was clear: your business deserves the attention you've been missing. Within days, I started seeing the results. Clients who had been loyal to Madison suddenly became distant. Some reached out to me directly. Others simply didn't renew contracts. I watched as her office emails piled up, as her calls went unanswered, as confusion and panic started seeping into her confident facade. Then came the subtle but sharp domino effect. Word spread in the local business community. Madison's competitors noticed the decline and started swooping in. Her projects, once smooth, began faltering because she was stretched thin, scrambling to cover mistakes she hadn't anticipated. And all the while, I stayed in the background, calm and untouchable, letting her unravel on her own. The first confrontation came a week later. Madison called me, her voice shaking, almost pleading. "Emily. I don't understand. How did this happen? Please. I need your help." I leaned back in my chair, taking a deep breath, savoring the moment. The irony wasn't lost on me. She had once told me, "You'll thank me one day." And now, the tables had turned. "It's just business, Madison," I said softly. "You'll thank me one day." And I hung up. The aftermath was astonishing. Within 6 months, her company collapsed entirely. Every client she had once boasted about became mine. My new brand, polished and professional, grew stronger than ever. And as I watched from the sidelines, I realized something profound. Revenge wasn't just about taking what was stolen, it was about reclaiming my peace, my power, and my dignity. But there was a lesson deeper than satisfaction or success. Betrayal has a cost far beyond money. It costs trust. It costs relationships. It costs your sense of safety in a world you thought you controlled. And no amount of apology can ever buy that back. I had lost so much, but I had gained something far more powerful: clarity, resilience, and the unshakable knowledge that I could rise, even when the people closest to me tried to destroy me. Madison had stolen my company, but she couldn't steal my strength. She couldn't steal my spirit. She couldn't steal my peace of mind. And in the end, that was the ultimate revenge. Betrayal leaves scars, but it also teaches. I learned that the true cost of deceit isn't measured in money or titles, it's in the quiet moments of self-realization, the patience to rebuild, and the satisfaction of reclaiming what was lost. Revenge isn't about cruelty, it's about justice. And sometimes, justice is simply letting someone's greed destroy itself while you rise stronger than ever. If you've ever been betrayed, remember this: your strength is your ultimate revenge. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share your story in the comments, because no one should feel powerless when the people they trust turn against them.